this is basically what type of computer you should buy. The reason why I have my computer here is I'm just going to show you the different components I'm talking about when it comes to computers. You can actually visually see what you're buying instead of just some numbers. When you walk into a computer store, you're gonna see a little card like this. Now, these little cards show the CPU, the video card is, just the RAM, the memory. I'm gonna talk about each thing and what it means. First off, the most important thing, make sure you guys subscribe to see more. This channel is gonna be loaded with information that can help you guys get better at YouTube and better at technology. Here we go, we're gonna dive into this video now. First off, don't mind this little tube thing. This is my water cooler, okay? That's actually the cooling system for the computer. I added that on. So behind the water cooler is the most important component of any computer. That's the CPU, okay? That is basically the powerhouse. But what's behind this black box is the most important thing in this computer. It's what processes information. It's what opens up a new program. It's what loads things faster. It's how you can, it's everything. It's how fast everything happens. That's basically your motor, okay? So you guys can think of this as like a V4, a V6, and a V8, okay? There's two companies that make CPUs in the computer industry. There's AMD and then there's Intel. I personally have had just not that great of an experience with AMD. I've always been underwhelmed, so I've always now stuck with Intel. So there's the Celeron, the Pentium. We're not going to talk about those. Then we step into the i3, the i5, the i7, the i9. Then they have an Exon, and I could be missing some, but those are the main processors that Intel makes. The Pentium is really slow. I don't recommend it for anybody that's going to do any kind of video editing. I really don't recommend it to anybody that's doing anything Microsoft Word and stuff. It's too slow. You're really looking at i3s, i5s, i7s, i9s. Those are the ones that you should buy. An i3 is like your V4 in a car, okay? It's your eco-friendly 150 horsepower. It's just your sedan, okay? It's nothing special, nothing fancy. You can do Microsoft Word on it. You can do some PowerPoint, light video editing. I'm not gonna say video editing is all on the CPU. It also goes in the GPU, but we won't talk about that yet. Not gonna throw too much information. It can handle your basic programs. It can handle your simplistic stuff. It's not gonna handle high-end gaming by any means. The i5, that's the V6. That's like 200 to 300 horsepower, okay? So that's stepping it up a notch. The i5 is really powerful, especially i5 8th generation. There's a lot of generations. Always go with the latest generation processor if you're gonna buy a new computer. It's gonna stay relevant longer. It's gonna stay faster longer. If you buy like an i5 7th gen, that is so much slower than an i5 8th gen. The i5 8th gen is faster than the i7 7th gen. But once again, I highly recommend if you're gonna buy any computer, make sure you guys buy an 8th generation processor. The i7 is made for gaming. It is very fast. It's made for heavy video editing. That's what I have in here. It's an i7 8th gen. So highly recommend that if you're gonna do heavy gaming, if you have the budget. It's future-proofing yourself for later. So if you guys really have a budget, you can go with an i9, and that's gonna be, I don't even know how fast. That's crazy fast. That's like a Ferrari. That's as fast as they get. This is like a Corvette right here. Moving on. Hopefully I gave you guys enough information about the processor to make an informed decision. Next over here is the RAM. This is the RAM right here. There's two slots. This is just one 16 gigabyte. I could add another 16 gigabyte. Once again, it's just a desktop. Your computer doesn't have to look like this. I'm just talking about whenever you see a number, this is the actual piece of technology that they're talking about inside the computer. So you guys can get an idea of what it does and what it means and what it looks like. RAM is just really good for if you're doing video editing, if you're doing a lot of programs opened at once. Doesn't have to get saved on the computer for long term, but while you're using the project or whatever program you're using, it's using up that RAM because it needs to be open and saved for that amount of time. So video editors use a lot of RAM. I'm kind of sticking towards more video editing because I'm sure you guys are going to want to be YouTubers or looking into being YouTubers, so I'm trying to give you an idea. As long as you have 8 gigabytes of RAM, you'll be fine. You can have a decent computer with an i5 8th gen and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Those are my two recommended computer specs so far. Little green stick on the right side. I don't know, with the colors changing you really can't see. It's got that white tag on it. That's actually my SSD. So the SSD is the most important thing you guys can buy in a new computer now. Okay, they're still making hard drives, which is over here in the top right. This is my hard drive up here. This is my SSD. I got 2 storage devices. On your desktops that you buy nowadays, even some laptops, they do have 2 storage devices like that. They just compact them smaller, make them all fit in a laptop. I can't even stress enough, if you buy a computer today, you buy it with an SSD. This little green stick makes it boot up in about 5 seconds. It also has no moving parts. That's just a stick like your phone. That's just a memory stick. This has a disc in here that spins and spins and spins and spins, and there's a little needle that scratches on the disc and writes information. As that needle scratches and scratches and scratches, that disc is rotating. After a while, that motor running the disc will actually wear out and it starts slowing down, and that equals your computer slowing down. So if you guys have computers that slow down because they just slowed down, it's because this piece right here stopped writing information as fast. It couldn't, it couldn't do this fast rotation. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. That's gonna cause your computer to slow down. So make sure you guys don't get a hard drive. Make sure you get an SSD. This has no moving parts. They're much more durable. They're much faster. It takes about 30 seconds on a hard drive to boot up a computer. Sometimes a couple minutes. Some of you guys have computers, I'm sure, that still take 5 minutes to turn on because it's like 3 or 4 years old, and this thing in here is just moving as slow as a turtle. This is how fast your computer boots up, how fast things load. If things take forever to load, it's your hard drive. If it turns on slow, it's your hard drive. If it slows down, if it's just messing up, it's your hard drive. I can't stress it enough. Buy an SSD. These things last. They do cost more, and I do know that for the storage, this is only 256 gigabytes. This thing over here is 4 times the storage of that little green stick, but it costs 4 times the price, if that makes sense. This costs 4 times the price, but has 1/4 of the storage. But it's so worth it, guys. I can't stress enough. Your computer will last so much longer with that in there. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the graphics card. This is a GPU. Now, a lot of your laptops have integrated graphics cards. That's not good. That's not good. You want to make sure it has a dedicated graphics card. You do not want an integrated graphics card. The integrated, this whole thing right here, you see how much space it takes up, right? This whole bottom plate. That's actually mounted onto the motherboard itself, just like the CPU there. You condense this much technology into that much technology, and you lose a lot of power. You lose a lot of efficiency. Whenever you use a graphics card that's not dedicated, it takes away from all the other components on that motherboard. It will drag down RAM. It will slow down your computer. It won't load things properly. It will be very slow. For video editing, you're going to see a lot of buffering, a lot of lagginess. This right here controls all of that. Anything that gets an image on your computer, it's done through this thing. You can go with integrated, I guess, but you won't be able to do high-end video editing. I'm trying to get you guys a computer that lasts a long time. Now, I really highly recommend NVIDIA. They make amazing graphics cards. This is a NVIDIA 1060. You guys can go with a 1050. You can go with a, there's so many graphics cards. Just research what you need for what you're trying to do. If you're just going to use it for Microsoft or Office or Word or even like college, you don't have to have a dedicated graphics card. But if you guys are editing video, you should definitely have a dedicated graphics card. If you're gaming, let me just run through the specs for you guys. You're going to want an i7 8th gen. You're going to want 16 gigabytes of RAM, maybe 12. You could probably get away with 12 gigabytes. And then you want an SSD as well, and you're going to want a really good graphics card for you gamers. You're going to want something that has over 4 gigabytes of video memory. This has 3. When you have 4 gigabytes of video RAM, of VRAM, you can do pretty much anything on your computer. They make them all the way up to like 12. It's ridiculous. Just telling you guys, get a separate graphics card if you're editing, if you're gaming. Otherwise, you're okay with integrated. So that's pretty much it, guys. On the main components of a computer, you got your CPU, you got your RAM, you got your SSD, you got your hard drive, you got your, which the SSD and the hard drive are like 2 in 1. This is like one category. And then you got your video card. Research the video cards. There's so many out there. I can't go through all the specs of all of them. This is just a 1060, and I can edit videos just fine. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and Amanda's channel is Your Favorite Blonde. It'll be linked in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to her as well. Thanks you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next video.